Hi, I'm Matt Wilkins and I'm organising the inaugural military revival at Old Buckenham Airfield, a historic World War II airbase opened in 1943, and today, 70 years on, we're holding the very first of what will be Norfolk's military spectacular. So come with me as we go around and see some of the unique machinery and displays that are going to make this a very special day.
Equipment, personnel and weapons from many different fields of conflict are on show at the revival. From the exploits of the SAS to American troops in World War II, particularly relevant to Old Buckenham Airfield, a World War II American airbase.
They just don't want to go that step forward, you know.
And the forces and uniforms from many other countries are also on display. Russians, Germans, you name the nation, they are here.
That's right. Love it. Thank you very much.
As was a demonstration of small arms, how good or bad they were and how to use them from ex-soldiers who handled them in service.
Travelling around in helicopters and the like,
Yeah.
a lot easier, a lot tighter. As soon as we got it, we were taught double tap. You're going to put somebody down, 300 metres maximum, whereas 800 metres you used to put down figure 11.
A star of the show is this Russian T-55 tank, the actual one driven by Pierce Brosnan in the Bond film Goldeneye. Being our first show, we're delighted with the number of exhibitors who turned up with their vehicles, equipment and displays. Our home-based Battlefront East England Military Museum exhibits, worth seeing alone, was supplemented by a huge variety of interesting vehicles, from jeeps to armoured cars, trucks and vans, missiles and guns, and tracked vehicles from self-propelled guns to full-size tanks and multiple rocket launchers, covering historic conflicts from the First World War through World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Falklands conflict, Iraq and Afghanistan.
About 15-20 mile an hour.
Which is if you really shift it as well.
Yeah, and the beauty about it is, you know, yeah. But trembler coils work well. No, they've got no one to catch him. Nobody wants to catch him, River.
We have a wide variety of reenactment displays which are very impressive. The arena saw lots of action from all sorts of classic military equipment and vehicles. More of those later. Visitors to the show with an appetite for a bit of excitement queued up all day for arena rides in an armoured personnel carrier and an Abbott self-propelled gun. Judging by the big grins and frantic waving, these rides were much enjoyed by everyone.
Because I had a seat right near the front, or stood right near the front, which was really good. Yeah, terrific.
Well, it was very humpy at first, but eventually I did get used to it.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, it was very fun.
Including youngsters of all ages who drove the mini tanks non-stop for both days of the show. The reenactment displays were brilliant.
This is the 25-pounder, which was the standard British Army field gun of the Second World War. It was in service from about 1938-39 onwards. Now the difference between this and the Duke of Wellington's cannon lies between the breech, the sighting gear and the ammunition. Now the breech, it's a vertically sliding block, and the shell and the cartridge go in there, and the breech is closed, and in doing that the firing mechanism is cocked and the gun can be fired by pulling a lever here. Now the sighting gear, this is called a dial sight, and you set the direction you want to go on that. This is where you set the range. It's all very simple. This is the elevating hand wheel. There you see the barrel moves up and down. This is the traversing hand wheel, which moves the gun slightly one way or the other. Now, this is the 25-pounder shell, high explosive. This is a contact fuse, and this is just a cap to protect the striker. This is the shell case, which holds the explosive to propel the shell. The reason why they are separate is because you can vary the charge in the case. This is what the charge looks like inside. That just holds them in place. So you see, you can vary the charge when required. And that goes on there. That goes in behind the shell. And that is really the guts of the matter.
Many people don't realise the Australians were heavily involved in the Vietnam War.
Australians were definitely in Vietnam. They had a large part to play right from the beginning until about 1972. A lot of the Australians that were over there in Vietnam were ex-British. A lot of the New Zealanders that also went across were also ex-British and did all that sort of thing. So it's partly forgotten. So there's a few of us decided to get together. I sort of followed some others to do the Australian thing. Yeah, we've got quite a bit of stuff here. So some of it was borrowed off the Americans. We've got some quite rare equipment. We've gone into quite a bit of detail. We've got the coke crates, the various bits and pieces that they use for cooking, which is American or British. The lamps, as you can see. We've got some pretty rare weapons here. We've got the L1A2, which is the light support weapon, which was developed between Canada and America. We've got the standard SLR, which is Australian Pacific. The British had them as well, but they were different. The American M60 we've got, which is a machine gun. M16, which they borrowed off the Americans. All the original webbing, some Australian, some American. They used both and shared. Little American pup tent. The Land Rover is a genuine Vietnam one that was sent over from the UK in CKD form. It was built in Australia, sent to Vietnam from 61 or 62 and then came back in 71. And they got sold off to the New Zealanders. And the New Zealanders sent it back in a shipment of 6 back to the UK. So that's probably the only one like that there is. The 105mm pack howitzer in the background, that belongs to the museum that we looked after because they used them as well. It was quite nice to have one of those. We used it on a couple of big displays. So other than that, all the little detaily bits, we've got books and all sorts of stuff. It's all genuine. Even what we wear is real stuff.
The Real Allied History Group comprehensively represented Allied airborne forces after D-Day.
Right, okay, my name is Harrison Peckett. I'm the chairman of the Real Allied History Group, or the RA Group as we like to call it. We basically do British and American airborne forces from 1944 to 45, so D-Day onwards. The kit that we have today, we've got a 75mm gun, which is an airborne issued gun. It would be put into a glider, folded up, put into a glider, and it would have been landed on D-Day, and it would have been set up about 3 miles behind the lines. We've got 3 jeeps here today. They would have been used as reconnaissance jeeps, One of them's got a 30 caliber machine gun on the top, and that would go in and that would scout out for the German positions, and then the infantry or the paratroopers would go in and take them out.
And you've also got a kettle on a fire. What's that all about?
The kettle on the fire is mainly for us, so we can keep the tea and the coffee flowing all day, because there's nothing worse than a dehydrated soldier.
Okay, and what about the equipment in here?
We have a radio shack. This is all period radios. They all work. They all transmit, but we're not allowed to because we might bring down an aeroplane. Yeah, that's all to do with the gun battery. So the commanders would be telephoning in and giving orders where they want the shells to be dropped. We'd then drop shells on German positions.
This is a German fighter airfield in northern France.
The group is the Luftwaffe Airfield Reenactment Group, and we're a small group, and we like to display the equipment that we collect, and we try to give an impression of what a Luftwaffe airfield might have been looking like sometime during World War II. Today's impression in particular, we're a small forward airfield in northern France in 1943. We just moved into the airfield. We've got the refuelling equipment set up there ready for the aircraft to come in. We're awaiting the arrival of the aircraft. The ground crews are elsewhere preparing the landing site. At the top of the grey barrel there, we've got an all-wire manual operated pump. We've got the various hoses. I've split the hoses up into two, so we've got two different points of refuelling there for when the aircraft come in. We've got the drop tank, which is designed to extend the range of the aircraft. So in this case we're talking about single-engined aircraft. That takes 300 litres. The tent itself is a replica of a German officer's tent, and the setup around the tent is based on a photograph of Adolf Galland in France in 1940. Just after they'd moved into an airfield, they'd set up a tent like this, and the little headquarters we're basically a headquarters unit. We're a small unit. We're in charge of 5 of our own aircraft. Our officers they're all pilots, but they're also administrative officers as well. And then we're waiting for the rest of the group to come in, which may be as many as 20, 30 aircraft, and they would be spread out around the airfield. So all's our role in this area is we're the administration and the command and control side of the airfield. And we've got target photographs of various points in the United Kingdom. And across the top we've got a stereo viewer, and the idea is that when you look through the stereo viewer, it almost makes the picture look like 3D, and so that you can look at the picture and you can identify potential targets.
Stellen Sie, 2, 13 mm Maschinengewehr. Ja, für heute.
It's December 1944, somewhere in Belgium.
Hi, my name's Dan O'Dwyer. I'm from GI 4445 Living History Group. Today we're portraying the 508th Parachute Infantry Regiment of the 82nd Airborne on the 21st of December 1944, and they were dug in on the top of Thiers de Mont Ridge in Belgium, awaiting, trying to find the oncoming German army that were part of, obviously, the infamous Battle of the Bulge. What we have behind me today is a diorama of a command post that would have been at the top to the rear of the American forces on Thiers de Mont Ridge. It would have been prepared only within about 24 hours, so it's only very shallow, but it would have given them a place to coordinate their operations and a radio hub where telecommunication could be established with the units in the vicinity. Well, everything we have here is pretty much original. Got examples of rations which they would have eaten and just tossed away as rubbish, weapons and communications equipment. We've got a telephone exchange there which would have had field telephones, which we also have here, out on demonstration, where they would have communicated with the front line and with their positions to their left and to their right. We've also got I suppose you'd call it a walkie-talkie, or the modern version of today's mobile telephone, which would have been again probably used more for mobile communication with jeeps that we've been out on reconnaissance just in the vicinity.
Some German mountain troops were relaxing in a respite camp when suddenly...
Alarm! Alarm!
Down! Get down! Up!
The American patrol, courtesy of the RA group, mop up the survivors of the skirmish, much to the satisfaction of the crowd. At the end of a very busy first day at the revival, a period hangar dance gave everyone, young and old, a lot of fun. Particularly some Russians who really let go.